I've never been the biggest Sonic the Hedgehog fan. My experience begins way back with Sonic Rush, and I only thought that game was okay. I just never understood the hype for the game. He just goes too fast. I'm barely able to see where I'm going. How the frick am I supposed to play this game? It's no wonder I keep dying. Like, I can't even see the enemy until it's way too late. It didn't get any better when the next Sonic game I played was Sonic and the Secret Rings on the Wii. That was much slower than Sonic Rush, but it was still way too fast. And since then, I haven't touched any Sonic game. That was until Sonic Frontiers came out, and I loved it. It wasn't hard though. Going from Sonic and the Secret Rings on the Wii to Frontiers, it's night and day. It was still pretty quick, but with the wide view of the open world, it played much better. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot more they could have done with Sonic Frontiers. I feel like there was a lot of empty space in the world that could have been added with something. Since Frontiers, I've loved Sonic, and I was really looking forward to Sonic X Shadow Generations. I've never played the original generation, so this was completely new to me. I just finished it today. It was absolutely amazing. By far the best Sonic game I've ever played. It has a lot in common with Frontier, so I was a bit familiar with it. Before I talk about it, I need to let you know that I don't know anything about Shadow's story. Now, in the main menu, it actually gives you an option to watch Shadow's story. It has about a 1-minute animation of his whole lore. This was a great feature in the game. Of course, the story's gonna be way better when you actually know what you're playing for. I won't spoil anything, but what the fuck is Shadow's backstory, man? It's so gut-wrenching. I was in absolute shock. I thought this was a kid's game. I thought Shadow was like the bad Sonic the Hedgehog who wanted to kill Sonic. It's fucking crazy. That was my first intro to Shadow, and the rest of the story did not disappoint. The craziness just continued for 5 hours of the campaign. So from my knowledge, I think Shadow Generations is just a retelling of Sonic Adventure 2. From minute one, I was blown away by the visuals. I played this game on a Nintendo Switch and it still looked incredible. My favorite part with the visuals would definitely be when Doomseye is kind of shape-shifting everything around the level. Oh, it's incredible. I can only imagine what it looked like on a PC or on a PlayStation 5. Knowing Shadow's brutal backstory, it was so much fun, like knowing what you're playing for. So you have this kind of a hub world where you can kind of explore and go from level to level. You can find small stuff like nuts and bolts, trophies and soundtracks. This part of the game is the most like Frontiers, considering it's open world, and there's little stuff you can find and you can grind on rails and all that kind of stuff. Most areas you play in have 2 acts. One is in 2D and the other is in 3D. That is until the very last level where they're both in 3D. Most levels average around 5 to 6 minutes if you're good enough. I like how friendly the ranking system is. I was fucking terrible at the beginning. It would take me like 9 to 10 minutes to get through a single level, but I'd still get a really good grade. I definitely prefer the 3D levels though. Now, contrary to what I said before, the game is at its best when you're playing it fast. I feel with this game, you have a lot more control over Sonic and Shadow than you did at any other game. I was terrible at the beginning, but the more I played, the more I kind of got better and the faster I got. Controlling Shadow feels so good, man. His abilities make the game so much fun too. My personal favorite is his ability to fly. You unlock the wings at the end of the game, but you can kind of go back through all the other levels while flying, and it makes it so much easier to get the S rank on every level. Not to mention his chaos control, which makes the game 1,000 times easier if you're struggling. I mentioned the boss fights briefly. Jesus Christ, they are amazing. Sonic games have always strived themselves with having big, massive bosses. The visuals and the sounds of the entire game are really good, but they really shine with the boss fights. One thing I appreciate is their progression. It might be very easy at the beginning, but once you hit them, they fucking double in size and their attack becomes triple what it used to be. It's so creative as well. It's not like you're going for the same hit each time. It kind of changes what you have to do to defeat them. Visually, sound, music, 10 out of 10. And I'll say this one more time. Knowing Shadow's story makes it 1,000,000 times better. It's a very beginner friendly game, thank God. As I've said, the ranking system is very generous. but the game is also generous with its restarts. There was 1 or 2 levels where I found myself constantly falling off the map, but the checkpoints being so close to each other made it tolerable. A nice feature they added was the jukebox. Basically, when you find the soundtrack in the hub world, you can play that song whenever you want. I don't know why you would though. The bassline music in the game is a masterpiece. This game did everything Sonic Frontiers wanted to do. I felt like it was nearly there. It was just missing too much, but Shadow Generations filled that gap. It made the open world just big enough so that it didn't have any empty gaps or empty space. So there's always something to do. The levels were also improved upon, in my opinion. I like the way they also tied the story in with Sonic Generations. Sonic only appears once, but I took the time out of the game to write down in my notes just how much I enjoyed the cinematic experience of Shadow and Sonic battling it out in one cutscene. It's amazing. Nothing special happens, but it just looks cool as fuck. At the beginning, I thought this was just another shit Sonic game that I was conned into buying, but thank God I was completely wrong. I'd like to mention Shadow's backstory one more time. After I finished Generations, I was on YouTube until 4 AM trying to get all the information I could on his backstory, learning all about how Shadow came to be, and I really recommend you do the same. Considering the third Sonic the Hedgehog movie is just around the corner, and it's all about Shadow, and it shows a small bit of his backstory in the trailer, I think it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal movie. I'm not really a big fan of the Sonic movies, I won't lie. It's probably because it's tailored towards children and it's so fucking cringe, but I think what they showed us in the trailer, I think they're going to go down a much more darker route with Shadow, and I think they should. Sonic X Shadow Generations is amazing. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe. Have a good day. Goodbye.